we welcome in this morning Elizabeth White, reporter, investigative journalist, and social media maven extraordinaire. Elizabeth's going to share a little bit with us about her career arc and what she's doing now, offer some advice for you guys about the job she's doing and the jobs you aspire to do. And specifically, Elizabeth will also talk about leveraging social media to get story ideas, connect with people, gather information, and also to market your material so you can drive traffic and grow your audience and influence. And of course, as always, whenever we have special guests like Elizabeth, we're going to let you guys ask questions and have some fun together today. So Elizabeth, welcome in.
Thank you, Gene. Thank you. So I've got Mallory, I've got Kelsey, Sarah. I see Sarah. Emily, I don't see you. Brian, Dale. Nice picture, Dale. My husband has that exact same shirt. I love it. Lainey. Who else? I'm trying to see. Oh, we've got a lot of people here. Oh, wow. Okay, the pressure is on.
Ryan, Ashley, Jayla, Jessica.
I know.
So we got a full boat.
I'm trying to scroll all the way back. Jada, I love your picture too. Okay. This is so different.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Okay. This is different. Normally, I'm used to doing this like in a classroom setting where we can actually engage and I can see how your reactions are and I can get nonverbal cues for how I'm doing. So this is the first time I've ever done this via Zoom. So wish me luck. Okay. So I'm just going to introduce myself a little bit. My name's Elizabeth White. I have been covering East Alabama news for, I guess, 2 decades now. So that's a really long time. I graduated from Auburn University. War Eagle. Anybody War Eagle out there?
War Eagle.
War Eagle. I did my internship in Atlanta and I graduated from Auburn. Almost got my minor in political science, but I wanted to be a White House correspondent, or so I thought. So my first piece of advice to you is after you get that degree, congratulations, but throw everything out the window, get into a newsroom and really figure out what makes your heart sing, what really resonates with your spirit. And for me, when I was an intern in Atlanta, we covered a murder trial with Ray Lewis. He's a Baltimore Ravens football player. He was accused of a murder outside of a Buckhead nightclub. And I remember going down and really didn't have any interest in covering trials or being a crime reporter. I really wanted to focus either on politics or feature writing, and just got into the whole court process. And it was fascinating to me and it resonated within my soul. And so I decided right then and there that that was the type of reporting I wanted to do. I got a job at our now competitive station in Columbus, and I was asked to cover East Alabama news. And I tell you what, I struggled the first 6 months. So I just want you all to know that being in TV news, and Gene will probably attest to this, it's challenging. It's a lot of long hours. The pace is extremely fast. You are away from your family and friends. You oftentimes work weird hours, but there's something about covering local news for me that makes all of the sacrifices worth it. Again, I did struggle. It took me a while, but I had some incredible managers and producers and anchors and kind of senior reporters who took my hand and said, "We got you. It's going to be okay." So don't lose hope. That's my first message to you as you get into your first newsrooms, is that it's hard. It's hard for everybody. Look for those senior people within your newsroom that can be a mentor to you, and just try to soak it all in. Be a sponge and soak it all in. So Gene, I think you wanted me to talk more.
Your audio just dropped out, Liz.
Is that better?
It is.
Okay. Technical difficulties, live TV folks, roll with the punches, right?
Yeah, you said, Gene, I think you wanted me to talk, and then your audio dropped out. So
you want me to discuss how important social media is to what I do in terms of news gathering and how that's changed over the years?
Absolutely. That's as good a place as any to start. You obviously, for those of you who don't already follow Liz and follow her from my links I sent out to you last night, she's got over 100,000 followers on Facebook and a lot of followers on other platforms too. And I can tell you she's a genius at knowing how to mine that audience to get leads on stories, to get ideas. And then once she has a thread to pull and then use that web to get more information. So Liz, take it away.
All right, Jean, thank you so much. It's so funny. I'm a dinosaur. So I am 42 years old. When I first got into my newsroom, Facebook, social media did not even exist, right? We were lucky to have an email account. So I used to mine for story ideas by what we call beat calls. And that's the traditional way of getting information. And so I've got a list of about 20, 25 law enforcement agencies, the coroner, school board officials, mainly my areas in law enforcement. And I would say no matter how wonderful social media is, there is nothing more important than a one-on-one phone call or a text every single morning to your beat call. So whatever beat you're assigned, know those key individuals from your county, from your city, from your state. Call them or text them every single morning. I cannot emphasize that enough. While social media is fantastic for getting story ideas from the community at large, nothing will ever replace that one-on-one rapport and relationship that you build specifically with your law enforcement contacts. So I would love to show you on my phone, but seriously, every morning I send out 30 texts. They hear from me daily. And I don't think a lot of reporters still do that, Jean. Correct me if I'm wrong. But it is the best 15 minutes I spend prior to calling in on our morning meeting. And sometimes they have a story idea, other times they don't. But I tell you what, because they know me so well, if breaking news does pop at like 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I can guarantee you 99.9% of the time, if that public information officer knows about it, they're going to send me a text and let me know about it. And get to know their families, especially in law enforcement. What drives me crazy is that there's this society says that law enforcement and journalism, that there has to be a wedge between us. That is not true. Law enforcement and journalism or journalists, we need to work hand in hand for the good of our community, right? We respect each other. We trust one another. When it's off the record, it's off the record, right? You have to build rapport and trust with your law enforcement contacts. Now, at the end of the day, I'm going to do my job, okay? They're going to do their job. And sometimes that's going to mix up a little bit, right? But as long as we are fair, we are factual, we give them an opportunity to speak on a story that may be not so good for their department, that's all that matters. These folks are professional and they love their community, and just like we do. So I can't stress, throw away, if you feel like, you have to be at constant odds or loggerheads with law enforcement, that's not how it needs to be, right? You can work cohesively together for the betterment of your community. So get to know your law enforcement folks. That is critical, because you can come in and they'll give you the front side of a police report, right? Everybody gets the front side. You want the back side of that police report, that narrative, those facts, information on how to get to people. I've had, I'm so close with my law enforcement contacts. Let's just say I get a lot of leads from them, okay? And it's very important, but at the end of the day, I don't pull back. I don't pull any punches. I do my job, and oftentimes they don't like it. But again, it's about respect and about being fair and being factual, okay? So how to cast a wider net. When I first started, beat calls were the way to go. Social media, when it came along, and Facebook, it was actually banned in my first newsroom. It was considered a waste of time. If we saw you on Facebook, you were going to get written up, right? And eventually we learned, wait a minute, this is a great way to reach our audience on a whole new platform and drive them back to the newscast, right? That's what we always want to do. So then it became mandatory that we create our social media pages. And I really didn't pay that much attention to it. I created my page. I would share my stories from the internet. And then all of a sudden, Facebook Live came along. Facebook Live. And I had a brilliant social media director. Her name is Tanita. I love her. And she said, Elizabeth, you have got to do Facebook Live. I was like, I don't have time for that. She goes, no, Elizabeth, I'm the type of reporter, and Jean will tell you, if you give me 5 minutes in a newscast, I'm going to ask for 5 minutes and 15 seconds. I love long packages. I love long live shots. I want to tell you the who, what, when, where, why, how. I want to know every single thing I can about my story, and I want to share it with my audience. But we're restricted in TV, right? I got a minute 20, maybe. So what I love about Facebook Live is that it's just, you're literally on the scene, breaking news as it's happening. I can talk as much as I want and Jean can't shush me. And I love that so much. I love that. So when I started doing Facebook Lives, my page just exploded. There were so many likes and so many followers. And really, I think I was one of the first reporters in East Alabama to do it. I think that's why my page is so popular, because I was the first one to start doing it, really. So I got lucky there. But Facebook Live and Facebook in general, and the way I moderate it, first and foremost on my page, it will not be a dumpster fire. I need y'all to understand that and recognize that. Kelsey Miller, if you have your Facebook page and your name's on it, right, that represents who you are and who your family is, right? I'm not Jerry Springer. I don't know if y'all are too young to know who that is or not. But I don't allow cursing. I don't allow racist terms. I don't allow people to fight back and forth. I want people to stay on topic. And I've been very rigid about that. I try to promote unity and kindness and thoughtful discussions. You will not, I don't want anybody to come to my page and ever feel like they're being bullied or being targeted. And that's hard to do. It's hard to moderate it, but I've taken a very strong stance on that. And so that I want you all to think about your pages and setting it up and making sure they are factual, they are accurate, they are kind, and they are compassionate, right? That's so important. So you will not find a dumpster fire on my page. I refuse to let anything like that be associated with my name. And it's hard.
Let's talk about some nuts and bolts there, because now, and I don't really know exactly how many followers and likes all the participants here have on their Facebook pages. We're all asked to set up Facebook pages and all the social media accounts, but when you have fewer followers, you can manually police some of the stuff you're talking about. When you get to a level where you have tens of thousands of followers, you can't really manually police all that stuff. And so they may not know. There are actually settings that you can set on the comments area. Talk just two or 3 seconds about that.
Absolutely. Facebook has a built-in set of profanity that they have keywords, right? And so you can go to your filters on your settings page. I don't know if you've seen this or not. And you can set your filters to like low, medium, and high. My filter is on high, obviously. And then there's a little box where you can type in specific words. And God forbid, I hope nobody sees the words I've had to type in to that little comment box. It scares me. But those automatically hide comments using words like that in the comment section, right? And then I have such loyal followers and fans that they see something that makes them uncomfortable if they know, because again, this is a message I share oftentimes on my page. People know how I am. And so it's a constant, especially as your page grows by, let's say it grows 1,000 likes in a week, which it will do if we have major breaking news. And I'm doing a lot of Facebook Lives. It's a constant messaging. It's a constant reminder to everybody following that, hey, here are the rules, right? And I'm not trying to go after your freedom of speech. You are more than welcome to share my link or share my story and share whatever hateful speech you want to on your page. But on my page with my name, it's my rules and we're going to be kind, right? So go to those filters, type in those words. And if you ever feel uncomfortable, I love Gene and we talk about this often, right, Gene? Because he knows my heart with this, and that I feel like there's so much negativity and social media can be a cesspool that's the last thing I want for my page. And I've taken a real hard stance on that. And Jean has supported me on that. Thank goodness. So you can go to those filters. And then a lot of people, if they see something that makes them uncomfortable, they will screenshot it and send it to me. And then I will try to go in and look at it and say, oh, I don't like that either. Or, you know what, they're being a little sensitive there. So it's hard. And it's not a one size fits all. And you have to take it on a case-by-case basis. And sometimes I agree with people and sometimes I don't. But I think at the end of the day, it's all about the effort to create a safe, constructive environment for people to learn about news. I'd love to talk about the Facebook Lives. Is anybody interested in the Facebook Live aspect of, or is anybody nervous about potentially doing Facebook Lives when you first start on air? Okay, you should be. I'm glad you're nervous because you should be. Facebook Live is not as easy as it looks. And I want to make this very clear. Just because you're Facebook Live and it's a little bit more casual, let's say, than a built into a rundown in a show, it's no excuse for poor journalism. All the rules apply when you're going Facebook Live, okay? In fact, I believe more rules apply. So I'm going to read this. Gene, I'm just going to lightly touch on what we did with Nexstar, if that's okay with you.
Yeah.
Because I think these are great. First and foremost, Facebook Live, they are exciting. I don't think I love anything more in terms of my job description than going to a scene that there's breaking news, whether it be a catastrophic tornado, an officer involved shooting, or even just a fun, cute story that, they're giving away free donuts. I love Facebook Live, being on the scene, bringing my viewers inside an event as it is happening is very exciting. And that instant one-on-one connection that you get, and that ability to share information that is so critical to public safety. And even there have been so many times that at Facebook Live, the information that I'm sharing, they have helped return a child to their mother and father. They have helped catch a suspect in a crime, or they have helped get a tip in that can solve another crime down the road. So again, that goes back to that hand-in-hand connection that I have with law enforcement. They know I'm going to be there. They know I'm going to do Facebook Live, and they know it doesn't make them nervous anymore because we've done it so many times together. We know what to expect. They know that if they can get to me, they're going to have a real sizable audience to share the information that needs to get out to the public, right? So again, that goes back to that hand-in-hand relationship that works so well with law enforcement. So first and foremost, accuracy. I cannot stress this enough. We talked about Facebook Live is no excuse for poor journalism. When in doubt, leave it out. So the key to a Facebook Live is only sharing confirmed information that you have directly from a law enforcement source. That's so important. So you'll see people are going to be speculating. They're going to be rumors. I heard this. I know this. I saw this. We don't listen to that. We don't look at that. We go by what law enforcement officers are telling us, okay? And I do not like it when we say sources say or an unnamed source. That's not who I am. Gene will know. I make sure that whatever information I have, if I have to, I can go back and this person knows I'm going to use their name. Either I use their name when I'm talking or I use their name if I have to. So I like to always make sure I have a named source that I can attribute that information to. There's a vast difference between what I think I know about a story and what I can confirm. And I can tell you this, Facebook is amazing. People are curious. They are rubberneckers. When they see blue lights or they hear a rumor, they instantly want to know more information about it. They know I've got the connections to find that information. So they send me messages, right? Sometimes I'll have 20 messages. Have you seen this, or cops here? And it's the same event that people are seeing and they want to know more about it. So oftentimes, even before I get to the scene, I've got a lot of information in my head that I think I know is correct. But again, what I think I know and what I can confirm that I know are very different animals. There have been times, specifically with officer-involved shootings, that there was one time that I knew at least 2 officers had been shot for a fact, but it came from a source that I knew I could not name if I needed to. So I held it until I could get a source on the record and can confirm that. That is so important. So again, what you think you know is very different than what we can accurately say and confirm that we know. We talked about the fact that you can't be a stranger to your PIOs, your public information officers with law enforcement. When you roll up to that scene, they have to know who you are. They have to know how to find you, and they have to know how you guys are going to do that Facebook Live interview. Legal issues, this is really important. Again, Facebook Live is no excuse for poor journalism, and it can get you sued. I avoid showing children and juveniles at all costs. Even if a mom walks up with her baby and she wants to talk and the baby saw something or the kid saw something, I will turn that camera away and leave. I do not believe children or juveniles belong on Facebook Live. I believe as a mother, that's very important to me, that we protect juveniles as much as possible. We walk away from that situation, right? I don't want to do that. Also keep in mind, private property is still private property, even if you're doing a Facebook Live. you need to find that right away, and you need to stay there. And you know, police, especially if it's a big scene, they will normally set up kind of a command center, but normally I'm there even before a lot of the police get there, right? So, and I don't like going back to where they have media staging. I really want to stay as close as I can. But again, that goes back to working hand in hand with your law enforcement. If they ask you to move, you need to move, right? But maybe they won't. So again, that goes back to the connection that you have with them. But again, just be mindful of where you're at on private property, and that goes for reporting as well. Also, I want you guys to tread carefully on people who are being placed in handcuffs. That's also important. We see this as a money shot in the news business, right? What better than getting someone putting those cuffs on and getting in the back of the car? But keep in mind, that person is just in custody at that point in time. That person has not been arrested, okay? So the last thing we want to do is show this image, especially on a Facebook Live, not knowing what's going to happen to them down the road. So I always pan down. Like, I can see the handcuffs, but I never want to show a face, okay? Be very careful. Now, later on, if you find out that that person's been arrested, that's different. Or if you know that person is being arrested at that point in time, but just be very careful about what you're showing, okay? I want y'all to be very careful. And don't say the person's being arrested, say the person's in custody. At this point, it looks like police are taking somebody in custody. We don't know if they've been arrested or not. We're gonna check on that for you later. Again, it's all about the words that you use. Person in handcuffs is not necessarily a person that's being arrested. Immediacy. I am so competitive, it's not even funny. I want to be the first on that scene. I want to be the first one with a web article up, with a picture of the scene, with just information that I've already been able to confirm. And then I'm going to share that on our WRBL page, right? Then I'm going to take that link, I'm going to turn it into a bit link. I'm going to do a little bitty description with that little bit link right there. And I'm going to start doing a Facebook Live, and I'm going to watch that story be shared 1,500 times. And again, that takes viewers and back to our website. That is key. Anybody can go out and do a Facebook Live, right? But what we want to do, we want to promote our station. We want to promote our website. So it's so important. Pause, get a picture, get some details, post it to the WRBL.com, get that link, post that link back into your Facebook Live, then start doing your Facebook Live. Because again, you want to drive all of your Facebook and your social media traffic back to that website. That's so important. So in terms of immediacy, I will pause doing a Facebook Live to get a story up on WRBL.com so I can do that. In terms of immediacy, this is all about your work ethic. Are you willing to get up and have your phone on all night so you can hear the little bing, bing, bings when people start messaging you that there's something going down on 8th Street, you know, that you need to get to? Get out of bed, leave your significant other, leave your family, confirm information while you're on the way, and get a web story up and start doing a Facebook Live, and be willing to stay there for a couple hours until the situation resolves itself. Being first, in my opinion, and what I've always found, is that means you're going to own that story. If you're first, you will own that story. But that's just, the hard work really begins after that, after being first and keeping the ownership of that story, right? But if you're first, you're going to own it, and then the hard work begins so you to keep it, right? That's what we want to do. And again, that just takes a work ethic and a desire to be first. Complete coverage. My Facebooks go really, really long. Again, that goes back to that I'm a long-winded reporter. Gene, it's one of my weak links. He knows this about me. I love to talk so much. I love my packages to be long and great big sound bites and nat sound. I love it. So when I'm on Facebook, I don't have any time constraints and they go long. I am so curious, and I want to take my viewers from the start of a situation to the end of a situation. So just little tips, like in terms of mechanics, have like a little external battery that you can plug into your phone. Have a little, $19.99 tripod that you can buy on Amazon, and be ready for those big Facebook Lives. Because the last thing you want is your kid. See, I'm using a tripod right now with like a little light too. It fills in those 42-year-old lines, right? So have a tripod, have an external battery, and be ready to give because even though it's Facebook Live, there's no excuse for making people feeling like, they're going to like throw up, right? have a nice tripod, set it down, have a selfie stick, try to keep it as smooth as you can for them, because if you make them feel like they're going to throw up, they're just not going to stop. They're going to stop watching you. Follow up. Again, this goes back to owning that story. You've owned the Facebook Live. Now you don't lose it. Digital first and on-air follow-ups are a must. Also know how to get those mug shots, those court documents for exclusive content. If you have any questions about how to get exclusive information, make sure you know who your clerk of courts is, right? You got to know this person. You want probable cause for arrest. You want that narrative, what led to that arrest. You want that mugshot. So many times reporters, number one, nowadays forget to make their beat calls and they forget to utilize the court system. So many people are like, where did you get that information? I was like, I walked down to the Lee County Justice Center. I talked to Mary Robertson. I pulled the arrest affidavit. I got the probable cause for arrest. And that's how I knew that little nugget. So don't forget to use those resources available to you, right? It's so important to know how you can get a hold of those court documents and who to call at your local jails and your detention facilities to get those mugshots. That's so important. And then finally, compassion. I'm uber aggressive. I love to be first. I can be a little mean sometimes when I want to get my way. But at the end of the day, I hope I have, it sounds weird to say I've got a big heart about myself. I hope I have a big heart and I want to be compassionate. The golden rule always applies. I want to treat others in every circumstance, whether they be a victim or a suspect or a family member or law enforcement. I want to treat them the way I want to be treated. It's what we learned in kindergarten, folks. It's the golden rule. It applies in your professional life. It applies in your personal life. Do unto others as you'd have done to you, in every single aspect of that. And be vocal about that. Again, that goes back to where I don't want crap, like mean crap on my page, because I don't want to go to another page and feel like I'm being attacked either. So just be kind to people, treat them with compassion. You're still going to be doing your job, right? But you're going to do it in a compassionate way. And I believe that that sets me apart. I feel like I've got a good heart. And I feel like, I hope that that comes through in my storytelling and how I share stuff. And again, I think this is a good example. So during the Beauregard tornadoes, I don't know if y'all are familiar with that coverage, if you've seen any of that. It was horrible. I've never seen that, just awful. And there was a little boy and he was bleeding profusely from his head. And they had him hanging up an IV in the back of a truck bed. And I don't know if many reporters would have shied away from showing that, because that was true in the moment drama that would have really, I guess, brought people into the severity of this event and how horrible it was. But first and foremost, what I do, we protect children, right? Always. I immediately turn my camera down. And second, I, as a mother, would never want an entire community of strangers looking at my child bleeding on the back of a truck with an IV hanging down. As a mom, that repulses me. And we have to give people privacy. As much as we have to invade their lives, there's certain moments where I don't believe anybody should be there. And others might disagree with me, but guess what? It's my page and it's my Facebook Live. And as a mom, I'm never going to show that. And I will say, in my career, I have gotten more exclusives by being kind and compassionate, because a few weeks later, that mom reached out to me and we actually did an interview with her because she saw the way I had treated their family in that moment of crisis for them. So being kind and compassionate and caring and loving has gotten me more exclusives than being invasive and intrusive and pushy has ever gotten me. Do you know what I mean? It's like that old saying, you get more flies with honey than you do with vinegar. Use honey. Use honey. It's going to help you sleep better at night, first and foremost, and keep you true to who you are. And it's going to get you plenty of exclusives. Also, one more thing. Everybody loves to take a selfie. This drives me crazy. When I see other reporters on the scene doing this. You're at the scene of a murder, right? Or even this, like Air Force One came in and visited the victims of the Beauregard tornado. And I saw a lot of people taking selfies with Air Force One in the back, and they're smiling, and President's here, and it's so, oh my gosh, this is so great, and look at me. And I hate that, because why is he there? The president is there because 23 men, women, and children lost their lives. That should never be lost on you. Do not take selfies at scenes and post them on Facebook, right? When you are at a scene as a reporter, don't giggle, don't talk loudly. Understand that the reason you are there is because another family is living out their worst nightmare, right? Always be compassionate. Again, do unto others as you'd have done to you. Put yourself in their position. It's not a time for selfies. It's not a time for TikToks and stuff like that. It is time for you to be there for your community, and be compassionate, and be there for the families involved. Okay, so watch out for those selfies. Also, and your news director might disagree with this, I do not show, because again, sometimes I'm getting to these scenes, especially with these traffic accidents and traffic crashes. They're not accidents, they're crashes. And I know someone has died, and it's before the coroner can get there. The vehicle is easily recognizable. The last thing I want to do is for someone to find out that a loved one has passed away on a Facebook Live, right? So I am very careful about showing up close, identifiable video and images of a vehicle that's involved in a deadly crash, because I just think that would be the worst thing ever. So I normally pull back. I don't zoom in. And there's a time and a place to use that video after the family has been notified, because I think it's important to use that video. People need to see the results of these crashes. They're high speed. Oftentimes they may be distracted with texting or not wearing their seatbelts. People need to see how catastrophic these crashes can be. But again, there's a time and a place. So I would encourage you just to search your heart and find out how I would want to be treated. And use that as you move on in your career, right? And again, at the end of the day, I'm very transparent with my viewers, especially during Facebook Live, as I'm making decisions to show them things or not show them things. I'm very transparent with my viewers. They are smart. They know me. Again, I'm a dinosaur. I've been doing this for a long time. But I have no problem telling people why I'm making the decisions that I'm making. And again, it's just one more level of, really, it becomes a very intimate thing when you're doing a Facebook Live and they're watching you and you're sharing how your mind is thinking and what you're doing while you're sharing facts and information. And again, it just solidifies the connection that I hope I'm making every single day with my community, because that's what it's about. As a reporter, as an anchor, I want to connect with my audience. I want them to see me as a place where they can find accurate information in a timely way, that it's going to be compassionate, and it's going to be as loving as it can be, right, and respectful. And again, it's just about building that connection. And whether it be on TV, through a package or a live shot, or through a Facebook Live, it's all about, first and foremost, respecting yourself and who you are, right, and then respecting your audience as well. And respecting your station and not getting them sued by going on a private property when you shouldn't be going on a private property. Right, Gene? I know Gene appreciates that. So that's about it. Anything else?
I'd like to pull on 3 threads real quick here, if you don't mind. And let's, for the first one, think back to yourself, but then, of course, being around now as we welcome new people into our newsroom. There's a handful of folks here on this call that are going to be graduating in December and getting into their first job, and then a handful of other ones that are graduating next May, and then a handful of them that are going to be in for a little bit longer. But think about these young folks on this call and the other ones that would be listening to your address, and the 2 top things to do, not on camera and not craft-wise in terms of gathering video or editing or writing, but the 2 most important things to do in the first 30 days you hit your first job. Off camera, what's the 2 most things off camera and not craft concerns, the 2 most important things?
First and foremost, identify a mentor in your newsroom, because you are about to go through a really rough time. I had a hard time my first couple of months at my first station. I thought I was prepared. I was not. But again, those and this is what's so interesting about the news business is that your friends and your family will have no idea what this is like. They still don't know. I've been doing this for 2 decades. They have no idea what I go through day in and day out. I think my husband's still like, oh, wait, But the people in your newsroom do understand what the job is like, the stresses that come with it, the joys that come with it. So immediately identify a mentor. I'm going to have 3 things. Okay, Gene?
Go for it.
Then be quiet. Shut your lip. Don't say a word. Don't know everything, right? Don't say anything. Just listen. Soak it up. If you found somebody that, as hectic as we are in doing our own jobs, if you can find somebody that wants to help you, be quiet and let them help you. Don't be a know-it-all. Don't be a know-it-all, right? And my 3rd thing is, again, for me, it's all about those beat calls and knowing your beat, whether it be education or school or political or crime or courts. There's so many beats nowadays. Know your beats, get the numbers. And if you have a news director that will take you around, or if you've got a senior reporter that will, hey, do you mind, can we meet maybe an hour early? I would love to go around and meet these people face to face. Face-to-face communication is lost on us today. We rely so much on texting. Even voice calls are a lost art today, right? If you make the effort to go see somebody in person, I guess with your mask, it's so hard in today's climate. But if you can make an effort to meet face-to-face with somebody and shake their gloved hand or give them an elbow bump, that will go so far in your career. And excuse my language, don't screw them. Don't screw them. If someone tells you something's off the record, that's a test, especially with law enforcement. They will oftentimes test new reporters with that, right? Keep people's confidence. If you give somebody your word, keep it. Show up 15 minutes early, leave 30 minutes late. It's very important. Hone your craft. Keep your mouth shut. Be a sponge. Soak it all in. Meet people face to face. Communicate with them daily. And just live and learn. And really seek out who you are. Again, I thought I wanted to be a White House correspondent. I hate politics. I don't know why I thought I wanted to do that, right? But really find what resonates in your heart. What stories get you excited? What keeps you interested? Because my dad told me this, if you find something that you love, and I'm sure you've all heard this, right? This is a great piece of daddy advice. If you find something that you truly love, you will never feel like you've worked a day in your life, right? And I feel like I want to go home and pass out a lot of times at the end of my day, but I really don't ever feel like I'm working because I truly love what I do. So that's my best advice.
Great. So let's talk a little bit about craft, okay? And the actual making of the stories. What are the 2 things that for the newest journalist, producer, MMJ, photojournalist, what are the 2 most important things about craft when you're just starting out that you should remember and begin to hone?
Nat sound. So you're going to be one-man band, right? Nat sound. I am not the best writer. I'm not. I'm a great videoer. That's even a word. I'm a great photographer. I love nat sound. I love looking at things. And I have found writer's block is a thing for me, for sure. But if I can go out and I've got some great nat sound, whether it be, a cash register or a piece of tape, on a box, or even a car going by a house, a crime scene like that, going by, in a slow push in or whatever. Nat sound has saved me in so many instances, because if you begin a package with that nat sound pop, you are just automatically going to have to write to it, because we always want to write to our video, right? So I've always found if I can get some nat sound, it's immediately going to get me writing, and that it's going to help me jump over that writer's block that I have in my head, because I've got to write to that nat sound. It saves me that 2 minutes that I spend actively looking for nat sound, even if I can't find it, saves me an hour when it comes back to sitting at my desk and writing out my story. Nat sound is so important. And the second thing, in terms of making the soup, Gene, what's important?
Yeah.
I guess nat sound is just so important. It's tight writing, which I struggle with sometimes. My writing is tight. What I say in my track, sorry, the dogs are barking, is short, but I love long sound bites. I want to hear from people. I hate my voice. I don't want to, I try not to put myself in the package as much as possible. I love long sound bites. Jean knows this very much. But just keep it short and sweet. And again, that's something I've been in this business for a long time that I'm still working on myself, constantly taking a sentence that's this long and making it this long, right? Taking a sound bite that's this long and making it that long, which is really hard to do. And then another thing that can save you, especially when you're doing interviews with people, I've sometimes come back, because again, I feel like I'm a long reporter. I like to take my time, but I'll come back with a 30-minute interview, right? And I'll need 20 seconds of that 30-minute interview. And it is ridiculous. And then I'm searching for stuff. I've really put myself in a bad position to make my deadline with a 30-minute interview. So when you hear that soundbite, it's okay to keep going on, right? But just be cognizant of how long you've been doing this interview. And because when you get back to the station, you don't want to have to go through 30 minutes of tape, right? Keep it short and sweet as much as you can. And again,
just about that point too, a lot of modern cameras have a little button on them where when you hear the sound bite, you say, that's the sound bite, you can push a little button and it puts a mark on that sound bite, and you can go right back to that cue point and pull that 12 seconds out. Didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
I love that. That's great. And two more things really quick. In terms of interviewing, because that's really so important. The last question should always be, always. Anything else I didn't ask about, or you want to say anything? Because oftentimes it's that one question where I get my soundbite, because they're like, oh yeah, blah, 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 blah. And we got a confession from the mom that her son actually did it. I'm like, dang, okay, thank you. I'm always so surprised sometimes that when that simple little question will elicit such a great response from people. Again, it's about, we want to empower people, right? You want to ask these great questions, but really an interview is about empowering another person to share their story with you, okay? So at the end of it, say, anything else you want to say? And very even lean forward. Your body language is very important when you're interviewing people. Lean forward. Anything else you want to, anything I didn't ask? Because oftentimes there are several things I haven't asked, and they will share that with you. And along those same lines, again, be quiet. Be quiet. I have found myself talking over people that I've interviewed, and because I like to talk, I like to fill those silences. I don't like silence. It makes me feel awkward, right? But that's such a tool as a reporter. Sit back, pause. I've often found that if you pause, like you're getting into an emotional soundbite with somebody, they're telling you something that's happened to them, they will stop talking. And if I just kind of sit there for about 5 seconds, just kind of nod my head very slowly, I find it will allow them to continue talking, right? So they'll go a little bit further with that thought. They'll be a little bit more intimate with what they're sharing. It may even elicit a more emotional soundbite, right? So just know when to be quiet, which is something I struggle with every single day. So again, those are some great interviewing techniques. Is remember, empower them. Body language is important. Look them in the eye. God forbid, oh my God, I have seen people literally in the middle of a press conference and interviewing people, looking on their cell phones. You know what I mean? Put those cell phones away. That person should have your undivided attention. Put your phone on silent. That time is about them. Let them share their story. Be quiet. Practice the pause, right? And wrap up the interview with, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for trusting me to share your story. Because sometimes these interviews are hard for people. They're talking about people that maybe they've lost. Thank you. And it's not fake. It's genuine. Be genuine with them, right? Anything else you want to tell me? and be thankful. I mean, be so thankful. If anybody helps you, I'm so appreciative of what so many people do for me day in and day out. Whether it be a Facebook tip or a law enforcement officer call, Gene being understanding about a situation, Connor understanding that maybe I can't turn a package today, or maybe I need 2 minutes in my package today. I'm so appreciative. I live life hopefully being appreciative of others. Be thankful. Because it's not about you, it's about them, and recognize people and make sure if somebody does something nice for you, pay that back, or at least recognize that in a way. And I'm known for doing that on Facebook. I always try to just give credit where credit's due. You know what I mean? That's important. Sorry.
So I want to talk about this next thing, and this is my observation. So please excuse me if I'm making a generalization that's unfair, but there are programs, in schools, and there are people who want to be in this business, and that start with the on-camera portion of the position and think, okay, that's why I'm attracted to this job and career, and I'm a good talker, and I'm attractive, and I'm confident when I speak to people. So the conversation about this job begins with something which purposefully should be, it's important. You have to present, and you have to be able to talk and present information. But a lot of times, and maybe some of you have experienced this at your universities, some of the folks that get singled out as doing an awesome job and being, quote, really good in the program are the people that aren't necessarily the ones that are doing the heavy lifting and the hard work that you can't see. They're the ones that can light it up every now and then on camera. And so they get a lot of love from instructors or the program. But, so I just say all this as a caveat. You have to be cognizant of it. And especially in the day of one-man bands and blurred lines, we put producers on camera every now and then. I have to appear on camera every now and then. I don't go seeking that, but it's like, okay, well, there's no other way to tell this story. Okay, I'm willing to do it. And I can do it if I have to. So that's all my caveat. So tell me a little bit, Elizabeth, about, that part of the storytelling process, because especially if you're an MMJ or an anchor, you're obviously required to be on camera to present. But even if you're a videographer, you have to be able to step up if needed and tell the story. And so talk a little bit about anything you can offer to these folks who are beginning to master their craft of getting over the jitters and standing in front of the camera and presenting. What are some tips you might offer them?
For on-camera stuff,
Yeah.
I mean, first and foremost, you better know your story backwards and forwards, right? We're not memorizing here. We are knowing what we are talking about. It's not just, and I used to memorize. Learn from me. These are my mistakes. I would memorize my scripts, what exactly I was going to say. But then I realized I know what I'm going to say, but do I really know what I'm going to say, right? Because when I think the best thing that ever happened to me is I was in a little bitty bureau and going live there without a teleprompter, right? I didn't have anything to read. So at first I started memorizing, and I was like, you know what? It came off stiff and unnatural and just not who I was. So I was like, I don't need to memorize. I just need to plain and simple. I need to know my story. So while my tags and my intros are written, obviously, and most of the time that's what I'm going to say, I know my story so well that if I have to jump or if I have to change stuff up, I can do that, right? I'm not going to memorize. I'm just going to know my story. I mean, we've had so many times where, and it's live TV, guys. It's live TV. The package doesn't air, right? Package doesn't get there in time. All of a sudden, they've oh my God, it's somebody else's both side. Oh, and they come back to you on camera. Not a problem. I know my story so well that sometimes I'll even say, sorry, folks, we're having technical difficulties. I don't even do that anymore. I say, you know what? Here's what we want you to know, blah, 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 blah. And I can hit it. I can go bing, bang, boom, bang, wrap it up and send it back. And sometimes nobody's the wiser. I mean, I think Gene's seen me do that a time or two, right?
Yeah.
With crap hits the fan. I'm going to know my story, right? When someone floats in front of me and all of a sudden they're throwing to me and I'm putting on my lipstick really quick, I'm going to know my story. I'm going to know it. So that's my best advice in terms of how to come across on air as confident. You can't fake that. You just have to be it, you know? Anchoring, I will tell you this, when I started anchoring, I was really nervous anchoring because again, this is not my personal story. I'm reading somebody else's, a producer's copy. And that's hard for me because I would go in and change things the way I like to do it, but I would grip the side of that anchor desk like you would not believe. And I would just send all of that energy down to my little fist when I started anchoring. And eventually I didn't have to grip it anymore. But that's another thing. Like if you just have your script, if you just want to squeeze the crap out of it when you're going live, you know, a couple seconds before you go, that always helped me. And make sure you got a great IFB. You know, I mean, when you walk out the door, set yourself up for success, not failure, right? I mean, God, it drives me crazy. Have your camera, have your tripod, have your microphone, have your batteries, have your tripod for your little bitty phone, have your backpack. Again, have your IFB and a way to set yourself up for success technically. So again, that takes off unnecessary stress that should never, ever be a part of your day. Okay. Grab that script hard, know your story. Don't just memorize it. Take a deep breath and relax. And I'm a very fast talker. Have y'all noticed that about me? You get me going on something, a story. Well, it's because I'm trying to slow down. If you get me going on something that I really know about, I mean, the Southern comes out of me and I'm just blah, 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 blah. So take a deep breath, pause your speech pattern a little bit, slow down your regular cadence, because that way when it comes on air, it will appear natural. It's like I've always said with this, you know, you pile on a ton of makeup just for you to appear kind of normal on TV. It's the same thing with your voice. You know, you got to slow it down a little bit more for it to come across better on TV, or deepen it up or a little bit, but just take a deep breath, slow your speech, don't memorize, know your story, and just have fun. And don't try to come off as like, I felt like when I first started, I need to come off as this anchor and I was, you know what I mean? No, if you start faking it in the beginning, you're never going to be able to really make it. Be who you are, know who you are, and be comfortable with who you are. That's what makes you unique. We are not these cardboard cutouts. You know, we're not talking heads. We are real people. So just have the confidence to be yourself, especially in those live situations. And if you have an opportunity to have fun on a Facebook or live or on a live shot, have fun. Use movement. If you can, I know it's hard to one-man band, but be creative with it. Don't be afraid to smile, because especially, I mean, nowadays people just want to smile with you. And if you can give them an opportunity to do that, do it and have fun with it. Sorry, I think I did too much.
That's good stuff. No, that's good stuff. So, you know, everybody on this call, except for you and me, is currently in school. Okay. And so, you know, I was like this. My kids were like this for the most part. Many people are like this, have been and continue to be nowadays. And what I'm talking about is, you know, you apply yourself, you do well in high school, then because you did that, then you get to go to college. They let you in, and then you work hard and you study and you get good grades. And so normally you think, okay, well, I do well in my courses and I get a good grade. And so I'm about to graduate here. So because I did that and I did what mom and dad said I ought to do and what society says I ought to do, okay, I'm ready to be hired now. I learned all this stuff, so hire me to do that job. And unfortunately, what we do is craft-based, which means you have to show with these, your hands, your mind, your ability, you can make something. And so the act of making something is so important. And what I preached here and what these guys have been doing every week is writing a story every week, doing a video every week. They're practicing their craft, right? So I've hammered home already this concept of, if you got 6 months left in school, do a story every week, because in that 6 months, you will have probably generated more video stories than 95% of the graduating class you're graduating with. Because if the only time you ever do a story is for a grade in a course, then you're really not prepared to get your first job.
Correct.
So aside from just doing a story, doing lots of stories, is there anything else that you can recall from your experience or what you see nowadays in working with young people? You know, as the clock is ticking, 6 months from graduation, a year from graduation, what do you wish you could tell every senior in college? Maximize this next 6 months like this so you can kill it when it's time to get a job. Is there anything on your mind?
No, exactly what you said. I was so unprepared. I'm not even kidding you how unprepared I was the first 6 months. I don't think I knew what a VOSOT was. I didn't know how to write it. And y'all are so much more prepared than I was. I feel like schools have gotten so much better in their programs.
Yep.
I sucked. Like, I can't even tell you how bad I was. And if I had taken Jean's advice and done a story a week, I would have been so much better prepared. And I crushed it at my internship. They loved me. I was so helpful. I knew all the people. I understood the legal process. I was awesome. And I had a great tape. I had a great resume tape, but I didn't write a dang word of it. I had a photographer that probably made 6 figures a year in Atlanta 20 years ago help me make it, right? And I had some of the best producers in the business help me edit and put it all together. I was the face of it, like Jean was saying, but I didn't make that tape. They weren't my words. It wasn't my photography skills. It wasn't me. Now, it got me a job and it got me an opportunity to be me, but just be, does that make sense, Jean? Have you seen these I had an amazing resume tape, but again, it was just about, I think I was focusing too much on the end goal, which was to get a job and not necessarily learning my craft during my internship, right? So that goes about what Jean says. I wish I had done a story every week. I wish I had tried to enterprise 5 different stories, because that's the hardest thing. You're going to get to that morning meeting. This is the hardest thing, isn't it, Jean?
Yep.
And he's going to say, what you got today? And what you got today better be good. And it better be based on the sources that you've gained, the drive into work, what you're seeing on Facebook. I mean, you have to know what's going on in your community. So along with Jean saying, put together a story every week, enterprise at least 5 or 6 story ideas too. Even if you don't go after and do them, start writing them down. Like, what are you interested in? What makes your heart sing? Presenting doable, and these are not like somewhere over the rainbow, story ideas, right? These are actually ideas that can be turned in a day, right? That's what I'm talking about when you enterprise a story idea. Don't do somewhere over the rainbows. So I just made that up. It was really good. It's story ideas that you can do and turn in a daily basis. So just get a notebook. I do this. I jot down story ideas that I see, and because I'm so old, I will lose them. But if I see something on Facebook, I'm like, oh, dang, that's a good, I will go to my little notebook and I'll write it down. And I've got pages and pages. And Jim will tell you, I come to the meeting. I've never said in a meeting with him, I don't know. There's nothing going on today. There's always something going on today. But guess what? Before Jean met me, I was that reporter that went to that table and said, I don't know, there's just nothing going on. We will all be there. We all get there. Sometimes we don't turn stories. It's okay. It happens. But if you're that reporter that consistently pitches great story ideas that are turnable in a day that can lead a newscast, if you have a day where you just can't get anything to turn, it's okay. It's okay. And that makes me, I always feel so guilty. Like I'm going to throw up when I don't turn a story in a day. It always makes me feel so bad. I hate it. But again, so put together stories, put together a tape that reflects you, not like I did. It doesn't reflect an Atlanta market that I had no idea what I was doing. It got me the job. It got my foot in the door. But put together a tape that reflects who you are with your writing, your video skills, and start learning how to enterprise stories and pitch story ideas. That's my best tip.
Yeah. And we're in different times now. I mean, and not that it doesn't happen, but what I would say to you is, for me, it becomes pretty apparent if I'm interviewing somebody and I ask for other samples of their work, then I immediately see from the primary resume reel a drop off. to the next
Right.
piece of work, and or just asking simple questions about how they did that story and stuff like that. And then the bottom line is really to what Elizabeth said. You sleep easier if you just are comfortable with who you are, and you are meeting the opportunity with the skills that you have, instead of trying to sell yourself as something that you're not, because honestly, that's a lie. You're lying to yourself, you're lying to a potential employee, and then once you do it, you got to keep up the lie, right? Don't live your life like that, you know?
No.
Elizabeth will remember, the first day I came to this TV station, the first thing that, people are, well, who is this guy? What is he about? And the first thing out of my mouth is we're going to do a couple things. The one thing we're going to do is don't lie, and that's everything from we're accurate with the information we report, but it's the good citizenship stuff. It's the professionalism. It's you don't say the dog ate my homework. We just don't do that. We're pros, right? And if you're sick, take a sick day. And if you need a mental health day, say, look, I just need to take a day off to cool my jets. Just be honest with me and tell me that, and I'll give you the day. We have the HR structure in place to do that stuff. But don't call in faking it and say I'm sick, and and then I see you posting on Instagram from from the party Friday night in Atlanta that you drove to. It's like, come on, So you get what I'm saying. So there's so much opportunity today in media. You don't have to make yourself something to fit somebody else's definition of what is success. Be who you are, go after what you love and what you're passionate about, and meet opportunity where you are now, but always think what's next. So take the first gig because you can practice your craft and pay your bills, but evaluate that first job and second job, especially for where it's going to lead you. How is that going to set you up for the next thing? So good stuff.
I love that.
So
I let you be confident with you. I wish I knew at 2021, I wish I had the confidence in myself just to be who I was, because I was good enough then. I'm better now as a journalist, but I was good enough then. And, once in a blue moon, you'll have a news director like Gene. They don't come around too often, but all the news directors that you will be interviewing with, they understand there's going to be a big learning curve, right? And they're going to look for someone to come in who's authentic, who's kind, who shows up 15 minutes early and leaves 30 minutes late, who keeps their mouth shut, soaks it up like a sponge, comes to a meeting prepared, and controls everything that they can when they head out the door in terms of being prepared, sets themselves up for success. You will learn and you will grow. You are perfect just as you are. And I wish I had had that confidence when I was 20 or 21 to put together a tape that truly reflected where I was in the business. I think it would have saved me a lot of heartache. I still think I would have gotten the job. Because I can sell ice to an Eskimo. I really can. Still think I would have gotten the job. But I think the expectation would have been way lower for what I delivered, and it would have been easier on everybody. But I learned so much. Those 6 months meant so much to me, to see the people that really truly went out of their way to help me succeed. I mean, not help me succeed just to keep my job, if we're being quite honest, right? And again, that ingrained in me that I love it when I get really frustrated sometimes with new reporters, but I also can settle in and think, you know what, I was there once too. And so let's see how I can help and share a story idea or two. I love sharing story ideas with people. And I want to be that reporter that comes to the table. I hope Gene knows this. And I'll have a story that I really want to do, but I've got this, and that. What do you think about somebody else doing that? So be giving, be generous, because one day you will have made it, whether it be in a small market like I am, or, CNN or network or whatever you want to do, and just be generous to the ones that are coming behind you. So.
Thanks. We got a few minutes here before they kick us off for noon news. So does anybody want to unmute and ask a question for something we haven't talked about yet?
Sure. Hi. I'm Mallory Harris. Can you hear me?
We
Hey,
can. Go
Mallory, I
ahead.
hear you. Hi. So when you maybe are thinking back to being a young reporter or when somebody's new in a market, how do you start maybe reaching out to those beat calls? Like, what does that initial call look like? How do you start sourcing?
Right. So it depends on who your beat. Some news directors do geography beats, right? Others do education, political science or political or crime or just general assignment. So if you are a general assignment reporter, right, I would just get to know, first of all, law enforcement, first and foremost, figure out the counties. And no, there's a difference between a county sheriff, right? That a city police officer and then state troopers. So know the difference there. I didn't know that when I first started. So find out who the agencies are in your general assignment area. Get to know your PIOs for your schools as well. Get to know your coroners. Coroners are very important. Oftentimes, they're going to be the first to be called on a death call. When investigators aren't really ready to say much about it, I can call my coroner and say, hey, have you gotten a call yet? He's like, yep, I'm headed out there right now. I was like, do you mind confirming on the record that you were responding to, a death call at such and such? Absolutely, no problem. That's oftentimes the first time I can confirm, because that's enough to go with the web story, is that, Coroner Bill Harris confirms he's going out to Lee Road 236. There is a deceased female on the scene. We know Lee County sheriffs are out there right now investigating. We'll update as soon as we can. Bam. I'm first. I own that story, right? And I got to keep it. So, and the initial call is, so just identify, talk it over with your news director or an anchor. What are the key areas? What's important what do you want me to cover as a general assignment reporter? Crime's normally high on the list, right? Education, really. And you want to think about casting a wide net, because we want to reach as many viewers as possible, right? And that's crime, that's education, politics, and just general things that impact their well-being. Weather is also important, but you're not a meteorologist. But yet, when severe weather comes in, you surely want to know who your emergency management agency director is, right? So you can call her up and be like, dude, do you have trees down or power lines down? Or, hey, can you confirm that there's a possible tornado touchdown and such? And where do I need to go to get some damage video? So again, just reach out, and those initial calls are, in person if you can. I know COVID makes that a little bit different, but just, hey, my name's Mallory Harris. Where did you go to school? Where are you going to graduate from?
I'm graduating from Columbus State in December.
So I'm graduated from Columbus State. I lived here such and such, such and such. And chances are, if you get a local job, you're going to know some family in them, right? You're going to know each other. So just talk, I like dogs, or just introduce yourself. And again, be as genuine as you can. Say, I look forward to getting to know you. If you think of any ways, what are you looking for in a reporter that is covering your agency? And if you have any advice for me along the way, I would love it. And again, just introduce yourself, ask them for advice, and then just be quiet. I have learned so much from my law enforcement sources over the years. They have steered me in really some incredible directions in terms of writing and journalism. And I owe them, my law enforcement sources, just as much credit for where I am today as I do those early mentors in the newsroom. They really are amazing. And they know your struggles, and especially if they're in the public information officer, they've been there before, they've worked with journalists before, and they really want to have a good relationship with you as well. So that's what I do, and try to find common ground. And great topics of conversation are, children, favorite restaurants, food, and don't be afraid to go outside of the job, conversation, and then ask about their families, get to know them. They're people too. And then always encourage them. Don't just cover the bad stories, cover the good stuff too. Don't just cover when a parent's mad at the school board, and don't just cover when, someone, a murder that happened with law enforcement. Actively seek out those good stories involving their agencies. They'll appreciate it. So.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else want to ask a question?
Hi, I have a question. I was thinking ahead to November election. It's like big local and state and federal. So reporting that for the first time, any tips you have?
Okay, so it's so funny that I wanted to be a White House correspondent because my least favorite thing to do now is cover elections. I think Jean knows that about me. I don't like elections at all. So this is another tip I'm going to share with you, is that when you don't know something and you don't know how to give advice to somebody, just don't give it. So I really don't, I'm trying to find you. Where are you? There you are, Kelsey. Kelsey. Yeah. Covering elections, I would just say, be as fair as possible. Don't be biased. You know, right now it's hard to be a local journalist. There's a lot of, people make assumptions that we are biased, that we lean one way or another, that we're fake news, that we have an agenda we're trying to push, or a certain political party we're trying to push up. And, you know, I don't rub elbows with the national networks, and it's certainly not my business to even comment on how national networks cover politics and issues. I just know for me that it is very important that I keep my personal views and my political views to myself at all times. And I think I've done a good job on that, because some people will say, oh my God, Elizabeth leans so left, or, oh, Elizabeth leans so right. And I feel like I'm doing a really good job keeping people on their toes, because it's normally half and half. So keep your business. Remember, it's not about you and your personal feelings. It's about sharing information with the public. And in terms of covering political races, again, it's setting yourself up for success in terms of nuts and bolts, which is so important in this job. We forget the nuts and bolts. Even before you walk out the door, know who the campaign manager is, have their cell phone, know where political candidates are going to be, know where they're going to be know where they are going to be voting. So again, it's all about setting up your day, setting yourself up for success, filling in those nuts and bolts, where I need to go, how I can get a comment, who's his cell phone, how can I get election results. And really, if you do all that, even before your day starts, you're going to be golden. But keep your business your business. You share other people's business. You don't share your own, you know?
What I would add to that is people think that election, especially election night, is, as a local reporter, they maybe start the conversation thinking about the numbers and who's winning, right? You're probably not going to even be dealing with that as a reporter in the field.
Right.
If you're covering a candidate, think of it as a people story, right? You're going to be doing a story about not the numbers and the results. Your story is going to be the reaction to the numbers or results. So how is the candidate dealing with it? How is his family dealing with it, his campaign, his supporters? And so a live shot, which includes a reporter standing there saying, candidate A got 400 votes and candidate B got 300 votes and candidate A wins, is a lot less interesting than the anchor saying, candidate A sweeps it with 100 more votes than candidate B. We'll go live to the scene there with Steve. And Steve says, I've been following this guy for 6 months now. Let me tell you, 2 weeks ago, I met with him one-on-one for an interview, and he looked tired. And I said, Bob, you look tired. He goes, I can't wait for this thing to be over. Well, it's over tonight, and he finally won. Take package, So those kind of anecdotes, are about the person, is what shows you are in command of that beat and you understand the people on that beat. So having real solid information and anecdotes like that people don't get to see. They see the political, advertisements, and they see the speeches, but what they want from you as a political reporter, in part, beside from, keeping those candidates honest on policy and proposals and stuff, is those nuggets of the person, because they make some of the decisions about who to vote for and who not to vote for based on that person. And if you know that a candidate is out there proposing all of these, they're preaching about, holding the powerful accountable and making the rich pay their fair share. And then, for a fact that, this guy goes on Learjet, weekend trips every weekend, you're like, then you can say, well, coach, or not coach, I'm talking about Tuberville, because
or coach.
Yeah, but it's a sir or ma'am, you're preaching this and yet you're doing this. How do you reconcile the two? So it's really about the person, you know?
Mm-hmm. Gene's so much better. Again, I hate cannot stand.
To me,
Cannot
politics is like a football game. The stakes are higher, though. You know, a
I
lot
swear,
higher.
election night seems like Super Bowl. Like I'm just gearing up for that.
Yeah, I mean, it's
I have
fun.
to
It's
wear a bunch of
exciting.
different hats.
It's a contest, and someone's going to win and someone's going to lose. But you know, the things that really stick with you is if you can find out the stuff behind the scenes that other people don't know, and that usually starts with approaching it and doing a people story, not just thinking I need to look like I'm super smart about politics. It's not really about that. Yeah.
Gene, I'm learning here too, by the way.
Okay. And again, if we get cut off by noon news, then no, I didn't hang up on you. But we probably have time for one more question. Does anybody want to ask a question?
No, thank you all so much.
Yeah, thanks,
Thank
Kelsey. Good question. Okay, nobody's unmuted, so I think we're good. Elizabeth, thank you so much for spending time with us today and sharing your experience and your advice and your tips. Some really good takeaways there. I really appreciate that. You guys pay attention to, I saw a bunch of you taking notes, especially in the first part about social media and how she approaches that, because these are nuggets that there's no handbook out there on how to do this. So learning from someone like Elizabeth that actually does it every day in real time, there's 4 or 5 things I heard her say that really ought to be in a textbook somewhere, but it's how to not only do it and stay safe and not get sued, but it's also how to take your game to a total other level where people around you, as she said, a lot of other reporters are going, how did you do that? How are you doing that? And if you just take those 3 little nuggets and put them in play, you're going to be a light years ahead of some of your competition. So
News
Elizabeth,
is simple. News is simple. I mean, I would want to end with that. News is simple. Like you don't have to reinvent the wheel here. I mean, you don't. It is who, what, when, where, why, how. It's very simple. Don't try to make it more complicated than it is. The KISS method, have you heard that? Keep it simple, stupid. Perfect in the news business. And again, believe in yourself, be authentic, know that you're awesome, know that you're going to have really, really, really bad days in this business. But the fact that you get to get up and help people make decisions that will keep their family safe and protect them in certain instances, that's a powerful, powerful key to hold. You're a gatekeeper of information. You're the 4th checks and balances. Don't ever forget that. Be kind, be true to yourself, do your job, be fair, be accurate, and you will be successful. I have no doubt.
couldn't think of a better way to wrap it up. Y'all have an awesome week.
Bye,
See you
guys.
Thursday.
See you
Bye.
later.
Thanks, Liz.
Bye.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Have a wonderful day.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you, Ms. White.
Bye.